I swear Wednesdays keep coming faster and faster every week. What's up, guys? Good to see you again. Ramses here, and I wanted to bring you guys another Virtual Mechanics episode. The whole reason I even started this series was just because I started playing Dragon's Dogma again, and that game just has me thinking about so many good mechanics. In honor of it, here's the first 2 minutes of me making a character and Sean helping.
Big beefy boys!
Is this guy gonna be black with like gray hair, or is he just gonna be black with black hair?
I'd say he'd just be black with black hair. Just make the man you can think of, Michael.
I've got the thickness down, don't you worry about that.
He's gotta be beefy with like a square jawline and everything.
Sean, you know what, do you want a picture? Do you want to see what this looks like?
I want to see what this man looks like, this virulent fucking
I'm not done by any
man.
means. I had to like skip ahead to create what I have so far. This is definitely going in the video, by the way, just creating this guy. And this guy has to have like an anime style like eye color too, so like I could give him like ice
So,
blue.
like, red?
Yeah, I was thinking red. I have this magenta color right here, or this purple. Oh, that chin! I do need to work on that chin. I took off that beard, and it got way worse.
Oh man, you gotta have the thickest chin on the planet.
I gotta take his facial hair off to mess with his facial features.
Yeah, boy better look like the Crimson Chin out here.
I gotta mess with his chin, and then I can add the facial, the beards. He looks like Debo right now. without the beard, he just looks like Debo.
That's good stuff right there. That right there, that's wholesome content.
Should I make him with like one eye that like doesn't work? Cause he has that scar there. I kind of like that, right? You see the brows. What kind of brows does this man? It's definitely a heavy brow. This man's seen a lot.
Yeah, it's thick as fuck. He's seen too much, some would say.
That's it right there. Those are the eyes of a man who's about to save a kingdom.
About a fitness, you know what I'm saying? E double positives every day.
Alright, ears. I hate doing ears, man. I never know. My man looks like a gargoyle from this point of view. I need to change his nose again. He looks like a dark This dude looks like a dark elf. It looks like I'm making a costume, like a mask, like one of those latex costumes for like a vampire.
Alright, this video isn't dedicated to Dragon's Dogma. I just really wanted to show you guys that intro and get you familiar with it a little bit. This is Otis, and his companion Redding will be somebody that you'll probably meet in the future, but this is Dragon's Dogma.
We're about to fight our first Cyclops, guys. I just wanted to let you know. I love every single one of you. I just realized all of you are women. However, you will be going in first ahead of me. I'm gonna get a mount.
I will give it my all.
He just took his helmet off with me on it.
If you guys don't like this series, then you should definitely blame Capcom, because it's 100% their fault that I'm even making this series. There's no way that I would have even made Virtual Mechanics if I wasn't replaying Dragon's Dogma and realizing, god damn, those guys know how to make a good game. But anyways, I digress. This episode is going to be about AI companions, and what better way to start than with Dragon's Dogma? I mean, the whole game is built around the fact that you get to build your own AI companion to follow you around and fit to your needs. Not to mention, you can pick up your friends' AI companions from online and use them in your own single-player game, which is super cool. Companions are a cornerstone in gaming, and they always have been, and they're really a defining factor in somebody either falling in love with the game or absolutely hating it. And in my opinion, there's really only 4 categories of AI companions. The first that we're going to talk about is found both here in Dragon's Dogma and in Far Cry, and that category I like to call the common companion. Now, they don't all look like this, or they're not all humans. Even though Far Cry has some human characters, they come in all shapes and sizes. I mean, in Far Cry alone, you can pick between a warthog, a good boy, or a grandma, and all of these choices are choice as hell. Let me tell you something. You know a classic companion. They're all over the place, man, and that's probably because they're the most common type out there. The reason for that is more than likely that they're the easiest type to make, and that's not just a general misunderstanding. I genuinely think they're easier to make, probably because they don't allow as much agency as the other types of categories of companions that are out there. These are characters who, yeah, sure, you get to control maybe what gun, what their outfit is, what their special abilities are, and who they use them on, but you're not going to really have any agency when it comes to taking control and fighting in their shoes. These are characters that are just on your side, and really they're just meat shields with personality. Like, there's not really much to them. The big relationship building stuff is going to happen in the downtime when you're at camp just chilling and talking with them through stories. The other way is, you know, during fights they say something funny or whatever, they blow something up, and you just fall in love with them, sort of like this lady.
I've fallen and I can't get up. God, I'm such a cliche.
It's going to take every fiber of my being not to talk about this game, which is Divinity. I'm pretty sure I've talked about it before on this channel, and that's because it had a huge impact on me earlier this year when I finally found it. But I'm going to fight that urge, and I'm just going to talk about the type of companion that this game has, and that's going to be a vessel. And this is a little bit less common than the classic companion, but it sort of fulfills a similar role of mostly helping out the player through the player's own agency. This is the most player agency that you're going to see of all of the categories, and that's why it's called the vessel, because it's really just a vessel for the player to inhabit during combat. These characters are mostly going to have what I like to call out of combat autonomy, where out of combat they say what they want to say, they answer your questions, they're their own person. But once you get into combat, the player has full control over what they do, and this is going to be a common thing in turn-based strategy games like XCOM. Divinity here could technically be called a strategy game, but you also see it in things like Fire Emblem, Final Fantasy, State of Decay, Bravely Default. These are going to be really games that focus on building these characters the way that the player wants them to be. The amount of full agency that the player gets allows for roles to be filled and the player to have a lot more room for RP, which is always great. It just helps with immersion and the player gets more invested in the world and these characters. It allows for multiple types of play in one playthrough as well, which is really cool, because when you play one game and you're using a weapon, it gets kind of boring eventually. Either you unlock all the abilities or you've just seen all the animations. And this sort of style allows for you to switch around between 4 very different types of play. So here you see a wizard, an assassin, a polymorph, and a fire, I think he's a warrior. But I mean, those are all drastically different types of play that you can all use in one fight. And this is just for, you know, you the player, so you get to enjoy every single bit that this game has to offer in one playthrough. But I mean, a game like Divinity, you're going to play multiple times no matter what, just because there's so many options. That's why I love it so much. But I'm not going to talk about it. We're going to move on still. I grew up with strategy games, and I think that this kind of format is always going to have a special place in my heart. I really get invested in these characters when I get to pick what they do and how they play, and you know, I build my own backstory. You know, I put that sniper up in a tower in XCOM and she almost died and barely made it out, so she has a lot more of a special place in my heart. Like, I'm gonna send her on more missions or things like that. And these kinds of companions are really underrated since they don't have set backstories for the most part, but they're really rewarding. Naturally, all roads lead back to Monster Hunter, but the only reason I'm even talking about this is because we need to talk about assistants, which is another category of companion that I think Palicos fit into perfectly. These are companions that don't really have a lot to do during a fight, and the player doesn't have any to little agency on them. Sure, you can ask them to do a specific ability that maybe helps you in the fight, but these aren't companions that have health bars. And I know Palicos have health bars, but they come back instantly with no consequences, so I'm going to say that they don't really have a health bar when it really comes down to it. But these characters are usually smaller than what the player that you're playing as. They can't really have that much of a say in battle, so they'd be kind of a hindrance if they did have a health bar. But I actually find a lot of people really like these characters, even though that seems like it would be a hindrance. It'd be like, you know, an escort mission, which is notoriously one of the things that gamers hate doing in the first place. But these characters somehow have found a way to be really enjoyable and also get the player bases behind them. I mean, some people really love Ellie from Last of Us, and some people really love Atreus from God of War, and I don't blame them. They're really well-written characters. But the Palico is an instance where you can see an unwritten character really shine just because it's good. It somehow doesn't hinder you in battle, and it only helps you. It has different gadgets that it can deploy, and I mean, there's different healing benefits to Palicos. They can knock off pieces for you from these monsters, and it just sort of shows a bright light on what the assistants can do. Now, the footage in the background, which is God of War, has nothing to do with this last category of companion, which is burdens. And that's mostly because I don't play games where the companion is the burden. I refuse to do it, and it's more than likely the reason why I stopped playing the game in the first place. If the game is the number one reason why I can't beat the game, then I'm probably not going to play it. And companions definitely are one of those things that happen. Like we talked about with escort missions or just glitches or other things. It's so infuriating to have your experience ruined by a bad companion. And I don't want people to think that I'm hating on these games. I genuinely love all the games that we've talked about. And I just wanted to say thank you to the developers because they've moved this genre forward with so many different mechanics that we're able to get games like God of War. And, you know, push forward the entire medium and really show people what games can be. I mean, if you've played God of War, then you know what an experience it is. So I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you to you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it.
He hit me and only took like an inch.
Hey,
Not even
before we go in, check this out.
Oh, that's a badass fucking weapon, bro.
Oh, God!